What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Pizza Buffet Week 9 in the NFL here on the Forward Progress YouTube channel, presented by Fanduel. I'm Rob Pizzola. I'm here with you for the next hour, breaking down all of today's NFL games. I'll share my model numbers on the games, any props that I like, and just generally talk through some things as well. Anytime touchdown scores at the end. A reminder to all of you out there, when I talk about a prop in a game, you can assume that I like it across the entire market. I hate when people don't give out numbers on props, but to keep the speed going on this show, I'll only give out a prop if I like it at literally every sportsbook out there. I'd encourage you to line shop. In most of these props, you're probably going to get the best price at FanDuel. I don't just say that because they're a sponsor. I say that because it's the truth. If you see news in real time, drop it in here. I'm very focused on the game previews. I might miss stuff in real time here because I got a lot going on and I don't see everything. I try to stay committed to breaking down the games as best as possible here. Again, for those who are new here, you might watch my stuff earlier in the week and say, well, Rob picked this earlier in the week. Why is he not picking it now? Or why has he changed his opinion now? As bettors, we have to react to new information that becomes available. When I gave out picks on Wednesday on the Best Bets show, we haven't seen injury reports yet. We've only gotten one practice for a lot of the teams. Stuff changes over the course of the week. So just please be aware of that. I'm not a guy that's going to change my picks based off of, the public bet percentages or, what my, contacts in Vegas told me or whatever. I make my numbers on the game. I bet my numbers. I've had success doing that for a long time. I'm going to stick with that process. So just be advised, if something has changed here, there's a reason why it has changed. Finally, before we get into it, I want to remind you one last time, this is the worst time to be betting the NFL. I have done this show in several iterations now, going on 7 or 8 years. It used to be on Periscope, eventually moved to YouTube. And over that entire time span, I am negative on this show. I don't claim to be someone who is going to beat full limits on NFL Sunday. I personally try to get all my bets in by late Friday afternoon, Friday evening. And I'll only really add something on the weekend if I feel extremely strongly about it. I'm not that guy. And if I was that guy who was beating Sunday limits at 100K plus, I wouldn't be doing this show, in all honesty, because I would be printing money and then I'd be sipping margaritas in Aruba in the off season. So just be aware of that. I'll give my opinions on the games. Don't think that they're gospel. Don't try to chase stuff where the number's long gone. I'll put my numbers up on screen for you, but try to bet earlier in the week. As always, smash that like button down below. I'm sure liking that we got an extra hour of sleep. That was good. Got a little bit of the eye on the Grand Prix here in Sao Paulo. And if you can, share out this content on your social platforms. We had an all-time record high last week in terms of live viewership. Let's get that number up even more. If you can click that share button down below, get this out on your social platforms. That would be very much appreciated. All right, let's get into it. I see a lot of people in the chat that are familiars. I see some new people in the chat as well. That's great. Welcome to the newbies. Make sure you're subscribed here on Forward Progress. Good morning, Levi. Good morning, Sam. Ekshesh. Good to see you all. Share your opinions in the chat. Helps us grow. All right. New England, Tennessee. Let's start here. I don't have a strong opinion here, and I won't have much attention on this game. Tennessee's been bet out to 3.5-point favorites pretty much across the board. You can still find some -3 out there, but those would be heavily juiced, -125-ish type of thing. Total at FanDuel is 38.5 right now. Again, I don't really have a great read here, and there's a lot of moving parts. From a numbers perspective, You look at Tennessee's profile this year, and you'd be like, this team should be better than they are, but they always find a way to implode, whether that's turnovers, whether that's last week's special teams against the Lions. They just consistently find a way to underperform relative to their metrics. Now, this might be the team that changes that because New England's not very good. Titans have come out of their bye week. They got the Colts with Flacco. They got the Bills. They got the Lions. This is a pretty big time downgrade here. But with that said, Tennessee's a very beat up football team right now. You look at their offense. It's Mason Rudolph starting again today. Tyjae Spears is out. Tony Pollard's expected to play, but he wasn't practicing this week. Tyler Boyd is banged up. Their right guard is banged up. They have a lot of issues offensively. And New England doesn't generate pressure. Like, this is the team that they could likely move the ball on. But they played a bad Lions defense last week that has no pass rush whatsoever, and they found a way to implode in that game. Other side of things, Drake May in. I think you upgrade the Patriots a little bit. There was no practice squad elevations on the offensive line yesterday for the Patriots. Always have to look at the practice squad stuff and the Saturday elevations for New England because their injury report, they just list everyone as questionable. And this has been going on for years now. But looks like a healthy O-line. I still don't think it's a good one. That said, L'Jarius Sneed is out still for the Titans. That means they're down cornerback 1 and 2 going into the year. Tavondre Sweat is one to keep an eye on, their nose tackle who missed last week for the Titans. With the way that the injury news is kind of flowed in this game, I think the market might have gone a little bit too much in one direction here. A little bit too much in one direction. But not a real interest in the game for me here. I just, all week long, waiting on info. Finally, market's kind of settled here. I don't think that there's enough to get me one way or another to be interested in betting this game. All right, second game here. This one's an interesting one. It's the Chargers and the Browns. I want to say a lot of two-way action on this game. A lot of split opinions. As we stand right now, most of the market has the Chargers as a 1.5 point favorite. This number in the total opened extremely low last week on the Sunday night show, which you can catch here 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. They opened this total 39.5. Me and Clive were talking about that being way too low. It got bet up a bunch, and we've seen some late under money here as well. So lots of split positions on this game all around. I like the Chargers offense a lot more now that they are at full health and they're passing the ball more. Quentin Johnston returns today. DJ Chark returns today. It's a healthy Chargers offense. Cleveland's D missing Jordan Hicks and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in their linebacking core. Those are big blows. But the surprise news, I say surprise news, was that Denzel Ward cleared concussion protocol yesterday, which I don't know what the baseline is for Denzel Ward at this point, but the guy has, people are calling for Tua to retire. Denzel Ward gets like 3 or 4 concussions a year. I don't know how he cleared, but he did. And that has a tangible impact on the game because he's their cornerback 1. Now, Herbert has been throwing the ball well over expectations for 3 games in a row now. They've kind of flipped. Chargers went from a heavy run team to now this heavy pass team. Cleveland defense has given up the most explosive plays in the entire league at 58. I think there's the chance for the Chargers to generate some big plays here. Could the pass rush get home for Cleveland? Sure, it can. But remember, the strength of their defense is Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith on the outside. And the strength of the Chargers offense is their tackles, their offensive line at least. So you kind of got strength on strength here. I think Justin Herbert over on completions is a very good prop look in this game. I think it's too low for the amount that he's been throwing the ball lately. With the spread being where it is at 1.5, you have an expectation of a close game. I think that matters a lot as well when you're looking at the completion market, because you don't want the Chargers to be winning by margin, or else they might go a little bit run heavy. So FanDuel, really good price there, but I would bet it across the board. Other side of things, Jameis is going to push the ball downfield, right? I've upgraded Cleveland a lot because the difference between Jameis and Deshaun Watson is extreme. I thought understated going into last week's game. The Ravens fans are really quiet, by the way, this week after I finally picked against them and won last week. Anyways, it's a story for another day. But they can attack downfield now. Christian Fulton is hurt for the Chargers. They already have Asante Samuel on IR. They're struggling at corner. And you get the same situation for Cleveland where it's a healthy offense. Yeah, they traded away Amari Cooper, but aside from that, it's a healthy offense. So I totally understand why the money flew in on the over early on. I still lean that way. It's Denzel Ward coming back that kind of like dropped me into a range where I don't think you don't have to play anything, but it kind of put me in a spot where I think that this is also just a decently priced game. Third game, Miami Buffalo. FanDuel hanging out at 5.5 here on the Bills. That's the only 5.5 that I see in market right now. We actually have some other rec books at 6.5. Most of the market sitting Buffalo -6 in this game. Total is at 49.5. I have a small bet on the under in this game, a little bit higher than this. This mostly stems from the fact that I think Miami's offense is going to have some severe challenges moving the ball in this game. Bills defense pretty much dominated Tua before he got hurt back in week 2, before he ended up with that concussion. But the big thing with Buffalo is they don't give up explosive passes. Teams don't target them downfield. Part of the reason why is they actually have a very good pass rush. They get Von Miller returning today. So between Miller, Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Terrell Bernard is back in the middle of that defense as well. It's a very good defensive front, and they can generate pressure by just sending 4 and dropping people into coverage. This has been like a real challenge for Tua throughout his entire career against this team. On the other side, I am mildly concerned about the Dolphins defense. I don't know if we have an update on Amari Cooper yet for this game. He's a game time decision for Buffalo, but Zach Sealer is out on the defensive line for the Dolphins. I maintain that he is one of the more underrated players in the league. Javon Holland, who has struggled with injuries for several years now, is out at safety. Those are big losses to Miami's defense. I do think the Bills' offense will have success. That's a little bit scary when you bet the under. But I also do think that this is a team that wants to run the ball, is not taking a lot of deep shots right now. Josh Allen's average depth of target is pretty decent, above 9 yards, but they're not throwing a lot of 20-plus passes downfield either. So I plug all those inputs into the model, get a slight opinion on the under in this game. On a prop side of things, some people who watch the live watch-alongs here on Forward Progress might remember back to that Week 2 game where we missed cashing a huge SGP on Ray Davis by 1 yard, and it was a stat correction late in that game. I think Ray Davis's rushing yardage total is low, sub 20 here. He's still splitting snaps with Ty Johnson, but there's a few things to take into account for this game. One, the spread of the game and the likelihood that Buffalo will be leading late in the game, where they do try to work in backups. And two, Ray Davis is still getting looks on a weekly basis. we're looking at like a projection of 6 to 7 carries for him in a game like this with a rushing yardage total that low. I like Ray Davis over on that one. Okay, before we keep going here, make sure you bet the NFL season on Fanduel, America's #1 sportsbook. I'm a huge fan of the product. Honestly, you can see it for yourselves. When I'm talking in real time, I give out a prop. I do anytime touchdown scores at the end. If you just do like a quick line comparison from book to book, often FanDuel is going to have the best price on these props. Often they're going to take the biggest pop on these types of props, but it's just a great product altogether. And I come from a product background. I'm big on, websites being easy to navigate, apps being easy to use. So all in all, I think FanDuel is a great book. And right now, all customers get a profit boost every single NFL game day. That means you can pump up your gridiron winnings multiple times a week. Today, we got an anytime touchdown profit boost token at FanDuel. If you want to join me for Sunday Night Football tonight, there's a same game parlay profit boost token as well. FanDuel has tons of ways you can get in on the action. You can bet money line, spreads, player props, and more. Plus, with super simple live betting, lightning fast bet settlement, and instant withdrawals, FanDuel makes betting on the NFL easier than ever before. Visit FanDuel.com/forward-progress to download FanDuel today. You must be 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in DC. Opt-in is required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms for both offers at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Definitely make sure you're betting within your limits. Preach proper bankroll management on an NFL Sunday. No need to chase losses. It's a long season. There's other sports to bet as well. So please do that. Keep it moving here. Cowboys and Falcons. I see a lot of people in the chat mentioning that Trayvon Diggs is active today. Just a note, I had him 50-50 in my numbers, so we can drop Atlanta a little bit here. With that said, I still like Atlanta in this game a little bit. Falcons -3, -118 at FanDuel. Pretty much consistent across the board in the -3, -120 range. Total's been bet down further, which I'm not in full agreement with, but also I'm not rushing here to bet the over necessarily at the current market price. I'll start with Atlanta's offense because it's fairly healthy right now. And the Cowboys defense is not. Micah Parsons is obviously out. Eric Kendricks is expected to play, but Deron Bland not returning yet. Amani Oruwariye went on IR. Trayvon Diggs playing with a calf tear. I don't know what that looks like, but I don't know where the Cowboys defense gets stops from. I'm actually, frankly, very puzzled as a Cowboys fan as to why so many people bet them in market every week. I don't get it. But it is what it is. Here's what's going to happen in this game. Dallas defense is not going to get pressure because they can never get pressure. The Dallas defense is not going to be able to stop the run because they can never stop the run. The Dallas defense is not going to be able to cover Atlanta's 3 receivers. You give Kirk Cousins time in the pocket with a running game, and he's going to torch you. And that's what I think Atlanta is going to do today. I think Atlanta moves the football at will. And I think that's what's going to end up happening in this game. I like Kirk Cousins over on passing yards. I think this number is way too low against this defense. One of my favorite looks today. I think Kirk airs it out all over the field. Can the Cowboys keep up? I don't know why people think it's ever going to be different. Sure, this is a matchup against an Atlanta defense that doesn't generate pressure. And that's the knock on the Falcons defense. I've talked about it all year. Played the over. I've been playing the over in a lot of Falcons games. Now they've been adjusted. But Dallas doesn't move the ball. I heard Zach Martin talking yesterday. They need to establish the run more. Okay, no Zeke. Maybe Rico Dowell's fine. They're not going to establish the run because they don't. Then they have no receivers that separate. They have the worst separation numbers in the league. I brought this up earlier this week on Best Bets. Came via True Media. But Dak Prescott has attempted a league-leading 59 tight window throws. Now, I know a lot of people don't look at tight window throws. It's not a prevalent stat. The most he attempted in his career in a season was 47. He's already at 59. They don't separate. And one thing Atlanta does well is cover. They may not have the pass rush, but they cover. It's a real problem. I like Atlanta. I'll just continue to fade Dallas while the prices dictate it because they stink. And I don't know why we get it, why we do that. All right. I missed a game. I go rotation number order. I missed New Orleans, Carolina. So let's backtrack and we'll go New Orleans, Carolina next. There seems to be like a wall in this game at 7.5. It's kind of like whenever it gets bet out there, there's some buyback on Carolina. Kind of hovered in around this range all week where you get either a juiced -7 on the Saints or a juiced 7.5 on the Panthers. Total in the game is 43.5. This is a really hard game to model because there's a lot of moving parts. You have Derek Carr returning from injury, an oblique injury, performance downgrade, especially on deep balls. You have cluster injuries in the backfield. So Jamal Williams not going to play, Kendre Miller not going to play. You get a lot of Alvin Kamara. Some other injuries that I don't think are catastrophic, but Bub Means is out. So it's like you have to get more Mason tipped in, maybe some Marquez Valdez-Scantling. There's no new injuries on the Carolina defense, but they're so depleted with the amount of players that they have on IR. It's such a bad unit. Where do the stops come from? And we saw this game in week 1 when Carolina was healthy, and they made this Saints offense look like it was going to set records this year. They're terrible EPA per play wise, EPA per drive. They give up 33 points a game. It's ugly. So the other side of things is where I would normally want to attack, because you look at this New Orleans team and you're like, okay, Marshawn Lattimore is out. Kool-Aid McKinstry's out. Paulson Adebo's on IR. That's 3 corners out. But this is like the one team in the league who can't take advantage of that. They have the worst starting quarterback right now in Bryce Young. Their left tackle, Ike Ekwonu, is out. They're reshuffling on the O-line, so their center, Braden Christensen, is actually going to play left tackle today, and Cade May is going to start at center. They traded Deontay. Adam Thielen's not back. Xavier Legette is going to play, but he's playing banged up. It's the one team that just can't expose the weaknesses of the Saints defense, because the Saints defense is bad, but Carolina just doesn't move the ball. Bryce Young went down the field on Denver, scripted drive last week, 5 for 5. They score a touchdown. They then get 6 first downs on their next 8 drives. They don't score again till garbage time. It's the wrong team to fade the Saints on, in my opinion. It's the wrong team. Anyways, Amari Cooper out. Appreciate everyone in the chat who let us know. So that will bring my, again, when I run the true game time decisions, I run them as a 50-50. So that bring my Bills number down a bit. Also would bring my total slightly down a bit in that game as well. Other stuff of note, Puka's in. That was expected. Josh Jacobs set to play. That was also expected. Brian Robinson, can we confirm this one? Just please, because he was expected to play today. That would change some prop looks as well. In fact, if Brian Robinson is indeed out as of now, Jeremy McNichols had some pretty big prices at FanDuel. Thank you guys for the confirmed. McNichols had some big prices at FanDuel relative to the rest of the market. Eckler will get the majority of the touches there, but might want to take a look at McNichols. Okay, keep it moving. A reminder, smash the like button if you haven't already. And again, if you're enjoying the previews on Sunday morning, share this out on your socials. It helps us grow. Denver, Baltimore. Okay, I gave out the over in this game as my best bet on Wednesday. I have the over in this game, and I bet it at several different numbers because of a few things. I'm going to draw a line in the sand here and state that I think that the Denver Broncos defense is way overrated. They're getting a fully healthy Baltimore offense here, which is, frankly, a machine. This is the best Ravens offense in the past 25 years through the first 8 weeks of the season. They put up yards, 7.1 yards per play. They score in the red zone. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. There's not really a great path to stopping the Ravens offense right now. The Browns did a good job last week of shutting down the run game for Lamar. Reminder, though, they see him twice every single year. This is different. The Broncos have faced a very easy schedule of opposing offenses. They are coming off of games against Bryce Young, against Spencer Rattler, Gardner Minshew. Earlier in the year, they played the Steelers offense. They've played the Jets offense, which hasn't been great. I like Baltimore's ability to move the ball however they want in this game. And they generate a ton of explosive plays on offense, 63 this year. I think they're going to score. Now, I will say, I like Denver in the sense that their offense has been improving on a weekly basis. Bo Nix really struggled earlier on in the year. The Ravens don't have a good defense. They lose Michael Pierce, their nose tackle, to IR. They had a very, very strong run defense, but that's going to hurt them a little bit in the middle of the field. Marlon Humphrey's going to play today. He's expected to be on a limited snap count. And honestly, even when he's played, this is a pass funnel defense. They gave up a lot of passing yards to pretty much everyone. Bo Nix has had a lot of time to throw. His O-line's been holding up. That's why the Pierce injury is an even bigger blow to the Ravens defense. I think Denver can attack. And that's where I got to the over. Prop look in this game, Javonte Williams over on rushing yards. This has been adjusted down a lot. It's been bet down a lot to the point where I'm like, no. Now it's too low. There's the talk about, forgive me for absolutely butchering his name like I always do, but Audric Estime was expected to get more run last week. They're talking about it more this week. But now that we're in this price range, I like the over on Javonte Williams. The key will be keeping the game close in order to get that. What number did you get? Did you go over? I bet pretty much every number from 43.5 to 46 at some point or another. Just thought the total was way too low. And it's still too low, in my opinion. But again, Sunday morning NFL, you do what you want to do. I gave that one out all week, by the way. Sunday night, watch along last week. Wednesday, best bets. It was there. Okay. Raiders, Bengals. Again, trying to go rotation number order here. Some of these start times might be a little bit weird in some of the games. Hoping I'm not missing anything. Raiders, Bengals. Interesting game. I'll start with the Cincy offense because it doesn't look like Zach Moss is playing. I think he's officially out. T. Higgins, not going to play. Downgrade there, obviously, in a big way with Yoshi Voss, Jermaine Burton, Trenton Irwin. Their left tackle, Orlando Brown, not going to play. Cody Ford will step in there. There's some significant injuries on the Bengals offense. we have a pretty decent sample now of knowing what the Bengals offense looks like without T. Higgins. Significant EPA drop-off, significant success rate drop-off. Orlando Brown had played fairly well this year at left tackle. There's going to be a drop-off there. What you likely have is the Bengals trying to scheme up some more runs, and they just haven't really been able to run the ball successfully with Chase Brown. And you have them likely trying to scheme up some more quick passes in this game as well, which is why I think after that early rush of money on the over, it got bet back down towards the under here. Most books at 7.5 right now across the board, 45.5 for the total. This is very clearly for me, Raiders or nothing type of game. I didn't actually see Burton as a healthy scratch. Appreciate that. From MD the Dream in the chat. I do have concerns about the Raiders offense, like I always do. Their center, Andre James, is out. If you talk to Raiders fans, they would probably think that that is a non-issue. Jackson Powers Johnson, who they drafted this year, will start at center. Andre James has been bad this year. But you look at, if you look at Joe Burrow's numbers through weeks 1 to 8 this year, he has career highs in EPA per dropback, total EPA, completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio. He's having a great year, but they're not playing well, and it's because of the defense. The Raiders have big issues in pass protection, but are the Bengals going to be the team to expose that? No, they're not. So to me, this is what I would call a condensed game. The Bengals don't have they probably play a lot of stuff underneath, not a lot of explosive plays, try to hold the ball for a long period of time. The Raiders do their thing, play super slow. And because of that, I just can't get to this type of number on the Cincinnati Bengals in the game. I like Gardner Minshew under on completions. Again, this is just through simulating the game out, where I don't think we're going to get into the position where the Bengals are, winning by extreme margin all that often. That's where I'm going for this one. Indy and Minnesota is our next game. It's been flexed into Sunday Night Football. An odd one to flex, I guess, because there's other games that I think would have made more sense. But regardless, we get this flexed in. Where do I want to start here? Let me start with the Indianapolis offense, because there's a key injury at left tackle in Bernard Raymond, which is a big blow. Joe Flacco is undoubtedly I'd even say significant upgrade over Anthony Richardson at this point. Forget about whether or not Flacco should be starting or not. I don't care about that. I care about this for the purposes of betting, not whether the Colts are making a mistake with the growth of Anthony Richardson. I don't give a shit. This is a tough matchup no matter what for Indy's offense, no matter who they started at quarterback, because both of their quarterbacks really struggle when blitzed. Now, Flacco is a minor upgrade here because Richardson's numbers are so bad against the blitz, but Minnesota does send a lot of pressure. They have a very smart defensive coordinator, and Flacco, in the tail end of his career here, has really struggled when dealing with pressure. It's a tough road environment. I don't hold out a ton of high hopes for the Colts offense, but it's a big number here for this current iteration of the Vikings as well. Christian Darrisaw IR'd. They trade for Cam Robinson. He practiced this week and is playing, but who knows what you're going to get out of him in his first game there. Any communication issues with the offensive line, I don't know. Got to keep an eye on Kwity Paye on the defensive line for the Colts as well. If he ends up out, Laiatu Letu will step in and fill a lot of that role. The Vikings offense is kind of coming down to earth a bit. They're still solid, but we're not seeing the same success as early on in the year. The biggest concern for me, though, for the Vikings, I guess it would be twofold, is one, the Colts defense is underrated. And the reason that they're underrated is not because they have great personnel, which they don't. It's because they spent so much of the early part of the season completely decimated by injury. And now, with the exception of Juju Brents, who's still on IR, they're pretty much healthy there. So that's the first thing. The second is, if you look at the number of plays that each team runs in the NFL, the Vikings actually run the fewest plays in the league, just under 57, which when you're looking to cover a margin, you generally want your team to have the ball a little bit more on offense. Now, they do run the fewest number of plays, partially because they had a lot of explosive plays in the passing game downfield earlier on in the year. But ultimately, I think this number's fine. You could easily make a case for both teams. I like the matchup for Minnesota, but that's accounted for in my number as well already. TJ Hawkinson in there as well. Good point from Jordan. That's certainly an interesting one. I don't know how he's going to figure into the workload today. And because of that, there's not really much I currently like for props for this game. But if you join me 8 p.m. Eastern time here tonight on Forward Progress leading into Sunday Night Football, I'll go through what I think are a few playable ones. Nothing that I love, though. Commanders and the Giants as we keep it moving here. Talked about Washington team total over in this game, which I played a bit of earlier this week. Washington's offense, I mean, it's on the graphic here. Washington's offense is a machine. Brian Robinson not going to play. I don't think that's going to have a huge impact on the game. We'll have slightly, like there is a slight downgrade there. You do have a healthy New York Giants defense with the exception of Kayvon Thibodeau, but Washington just moves the ball on everyone when they're healthy. Like this is what we've come to expect now. These teams played earlier in the year. The Commanders didn't punt. They just went 0 for 7 on scoring touchdowns and drives that went into the red zone. You look at last weekend, the Bears entered last week with a really solid defensive resume. Commanders scored in the game, or moved the ball, I should say, at least. It was another game where they bogged down in the red zone. And I think if you're betting the Giants in this game, that's kind of your hope, is that you just get Washington bogging down in the red zone because they've consistently moved the ball on everyone this year. They generate a lot of quick pressure, do the Giants, but this is a team that overcomes it in the Commanders because they scheme that way. They get the ball out of Jaden Daniels' hands quickly, and he gives you that element of mobility, which he, by the way, had last week against the Bears, even dealing with the rib injury. The one thing I do like on the Washington side, and it's purely a numbers play, is Zach Ertz under on his receiving yards. You should play that at Fanduel. It's the best number. But Ertz had an enormous game last week, and subsequently, you've seen him go from priced in the upper 20s versus Chicago last week, the low 30s versus Carolina, dreadful defense, to now mid-30s, upper mid-30s. It's too high. So pure numbers play on that one. Other side of things, Giants offense, Andrew Thomas is IR'd. And they just haven't shown the ability to overcome that at any point whenever Andrew Thomas has been hurt. They have 13 completions of 20 or more yards this year. 13. New England has more. Las Vegas has more. Carolina has more. Cleveland with Deshaun Watson had more. They can't throw the ball downfield. So you have to trust them to put together these long, methodical drives. And Daniel Jones just doesn't have it in him to not make like a catastrophic mistake every time this happens. We saw this on Monday Night Football. So that's tough. I get like the sharp versus square guy, the guys who love to fade the public. They're going to want to be on the Giants here. Giants looked ugly in prime time. This is the spot, home dogs or whatever, but they're just a shitty football team. Like, I understand if we were getting like 6 points at home, it makes a different story. Sure, I would click at that point. But no, this doesn't feel like enough to me against Washington. One other point. Back when they played in week 2, the Giants did move the ball up and down the field. They had an injured kicker in that game, Graham Gano. Their kicker, Greg Joseph, is injured today as well. Jude I don't want to pronounce his name. McAdamy. I'm horrible with this stuff. From Rutgers. Starting today at kicker. I love this. I love the breakdown from XJS here. Well, the primary issue with the Giants is that they are very bad. Correct. That is the issue with the Giants. Okay. Keep it moving along here. I do want to cover the next 4 games here fairly quickly and then get into anytime touchdown scores. Bears and Cardinals, a lot of moving parts in this game. Tons. I will say the numbers you're going to see up on screen right now, they could change very drastically over the course of the next little while because there's a lot of information to parse in this game. I want to start with the Bears offense. They're missing their left tackle, Braxton Jones. They're missing their backup left tackle in this game. So it looks like Matt Pryor is going to start at left tackle. Their left guard, Tevin Jenkins, is looking likely to play right now, which would be big because you don't want to be down the entire left side of your defensive line. On the defensive side for Arizona, Sean Murphy-Bunting was expected to return today, but he got downgraded to questionable this morning, which in my opinion, questionable downgrade on game day, usually not good. I don't think Arizona's defense is the team that's going to expose the left tackle issue for Chicago. Dennis Gardick is on IR. Bilal Nichols is on IR on the defensive line. The other defensive linemen, Roy Lopez, Naquan Jones, are probably playing today, but they carried injury designations throughout practice the entire week. This is an easy matchup for Caleb Williams. Now, he's struggled on the road in his career so far relative to his home numbers, but DJ Moore gets separation. Rome Odunze gets separation. Keenan Allen gets separation right now. And if Sean Murphy-Bunting is out, there's a very clear path to success for Chicago moving the ball through the air in this game. Very clear. Even without left tackle, because their wide receivers will win off the line. It's the Bears defense you have to be concerned about. Now, this total got bet down this morning, and it touched 44, and then it got popped back up to 44.5 everywhere. We tried to act on that 44 and got very, very little. 44.5, I think, is playable, honestly, but you don't have a lot of risk in just waiting to see if 44 reappears, considering there's some sort of market appetite for this under. And the reason why Montez Sweat is going to play today, by the way, he missed practice on Friday, but the team said that they were just holding him out of practice. He's going to play, but it's the cornerback group. You got a practice squad elevation at corner. I think that's probably for Kyler Gordon, who will miss again. You have Tyreek Stevenson, who's being disciplined today and is going to rotate snaps. So you have him off the field half the time. You got Jaquan Brisker out again. And this Bears secondary is a problem right now. We saw defensive backfield injuries for them last year, and teams start to be able to move the ball fairly successfully. This is a scenario where I think Arizona can move the ball. And Chicago's D, not only are they injured, but they're probably pretty overrated too. That's not to say they don't have a good defense, but they've played Will Levis. They've played Anthony Richardson. They played Matt Stafford without receivers. They played Andy Dalton. They've played the Jags offense. I think there's going to be points in this game. I'm holding out for another 44. Holding out for another 44 at some point. No opinion on side. Oh, by the way, I've seen a lot about the schedules in this game as well, right? Like Chicago's easy schedule, Arizona's tough. I get that, but I mean, I think everyone's adjusting for schedule at this point in some way or another. Although I will say, maybe not. It could very well be valid because sometimes people just get a little bit too hung up on raw data, raw stats without adjustment. It's fine. Rams and Seahawks. Chance of rain here in Seattle. What else is new? It's a November home game for them. That's just what happens in the Pacific Northwest. Made it very apparent that I like the Rams in this game all week. Still do, especially with Puka Nacua likely playing in this game. And it just means the world to Matt Stafford to have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp both in there. Just a completely different quarterback when he can get the ball out quickly to receivers who win at the line, and also receivers that you can scheme into some pretty big plays. Seattle's defense, second worst in the league over the last 5 weeks in opponent passer rating. They do have good corners, but overall, D just hasn't been able to put it together. They haven't. Rams right now have been faded on game day here. Seattle has been taking money since I woke up this morning. I disagree with that. DK Metcalf out again. Noah Fant out at tight end. They're starting a fourth string right tackle on the offensive line, Michael Jarrell. You have Geno Smith without DK Metcalf, where he struggled quite a bit last week. You have bad protection against the Rams D-line. That's like a top 10 pressure rate in the league this year, 31% pressure rate. The home field advantage in Seattle honestly doesn't really work into Geno's favor because a lot of these games are played in bad weather conditions, and he's kind of struggled in those. So disagree with the morning move today. Think there's value again on the Rams at this point. That's where I'd look. Props. Jake Bobo receiving yardage for the Seahawks is low, in my opinion. He played 76% of snaps last week. For perspective, Tyler Lockett played 78. JSN played 82. They don't have trust in Laviska Shenault. Now Noah Fant is hurt as well at tight end. I think Bobo's number is a little bit too low. Mid-20s there. Right. Keep it going. Lambeau Field, Packers and Lions. Line has kind of settled exactly where I would have expected it to settle, with moving off of 3 down to under a field goal here. Total 47.5 in the game. I want to talk about this game a little bit because you have the Jared Goff outdoor game here, and the weather, and the fact that this is the first time all year the Lions aren't playing in a dome. It's going to rain here pretty much all of the game today. In some cases, a decent downpour. Not like torrential or anything, but it's going to be a wet game. It's most likely a game where teams will try to attack the run or run the ball on the other team. You might get some downfield passing, of course. You can never rule that out, but it's going to be a sloppy one. And I understand that Goff sucks outdoors relative to indoors. I don't think there's any denying it. I mean, most quarterbacks do, if we're being honest, but the delta between his indoor and outdoor numbers is larger than a lot of other quarterbacks. The thing is, I trust the Lions running game a lot more than I do the Packers. I know if you just look at pure raw metrics, you'll look at the Packers run defense and be like, this is a great run defense. I don't buy it. I don't think they have great run stopping personnel. I think this Detroit O-line can bully anyone, really. And I don't think it's a game where Goff has to throw like 35, 40 times. I think they line up. They try to pound the ball. Jamison Williams is still suspended. Jair Alexander's banged up on the other side. Evan Williams is out at safety. I mean, if they have to try to throw downfield, I don't think that they have zero success. They probably find some moderate success, maybe some turnovers. But I like Detroit's ability to run the ball. On the other side, if this was a clean game, weather was good, sunny at Lambeau today, I would like the Packers a lot more than I do right now. Because the Lions can't generate a pass rush. They can't. They didn't against they had a few sacks against the Titans last week when Mason Rudolph was just fucking dumping the ball off into Lions defenders' arms. But Josh Pascal is out for the Lions. That's Aiden Hutchinson also out, Marcus Davenport, John Kaminsky, Malcolm Rodriguez. They can't get after the quarterback. Normally, Green Bay, especially with Jordan Love, limited mobility, coming off an injury, I'd trust them to shred the Lions downfield. The weather has me a little bit more concerned about that. And if it does turn into a game where you get more steady downpour, Josh Myers, their center, is out. Elgton Jenkins probably moves over from left guard to center in this game. I don't know. I completely understand all the reasons why someone would want Green Bay here. I just think the way it's played out over the course of the week, I'm less inclined to that, and I'd be more likely to want Detroit at this point with the way that we've settled below 3. Final game, Jags and Eagles. Current market for this one is -7.5 plus 100 at Fanduel. If you like the Eagles, this would be the best number in market. It would be better than a -7, -120 that are out there right now. This is it's really hard for me to see the Jags compete. I listen, it's the NFL. I've seen the craziest shit happen before. But the Jags offense, Christian Kirk out, Gabe Davis is a long shot to play. Brian Thomas Jr. is expected to play hurt. Could potentially leave this game. They have no other receivers. They traded their left tackle, Cam Robinson. Walker Little's going to start there. Their left guard, Ezra Cleveland, is out. Brandon Scherf, their right guard, we don't know yet whether or not he's going to play. It is a disastrous report. To make matters worse, Travis Etienne is probably going to play, which is going to take some carries away from Tank Bigsby. The Eagles' defense has slowly figured it out. Like, they sucked to start the year. When you look at recent weeks and the way that they've rotated their player personnel, Vic Fangio has that defense playing well. The rookies, Quinion Mitchell on the outside, Cooper DeJean at slot, they're playing well. Now, Darius Slay is hurt. Doesn't hurt them all that much with the Jags receivers. Really, I don't hate a Jags team total under, maybe a full game under. I have some concerns with the full game under because Philly's offense is solid. And in particular, you look at Jacksonville this year, they've given up 37 completions of 20 or more yards. That's 6 more than any other team. Yes, Tyson Campbell was hurt for part of that, but they play a lot of man coverage. A.J. Brown destroys man coverage. They don't have the corners to play this type of defense. I think there's lots of, ways you can play this game. But generally speaking, I'd be surprised if the Jags kept it competitive. Okay, so that's a full rundown of all of the games today. Again, you can always refer to the numbers that are posted on screen. And you can always refer to stuff I said earlier in the week as well, in real time. We try to cover as many of these games on Wednesday Best Bets now as well, to try to give you opinions, different ways to look. Wouldn't want to be a Jags DB today. Totally agree, MRM. Let's do some anytime touchdown scores. Per usual, I will give out the player I like, a brief description as to why, the price that I would need to bet it at. Again, I want to remind you, we are presented by Fanduel. I can't get my finger to point, and there we go, that way. I practice what I preach, people. Fanduel has very good prices on anytime touchdown scores relative to the market. If you do want to tail these props, get yourself a Fanduel account. Fanduel.com/forward progress if you're signing up. It does make the world of difference when you can get like a plus 500 instead of a plus 350. All this stuff adds up over time. Okay. Touchdown scores I like. Let's start. Let me just quickly make sure that these numbers are still available before I give them out. That's another thing that's important to me. Don't want to give out a number that's not available. We are going to go to New England and Tennessee and take backup running back Julius Chestnut at plus 350 at Fanduel. You need to bet plus 300 or more, but I do see a very good chance for some increased run for Julius Chestnut today. Obviously, Tyjae Spears is banged up, but Tony Pollard was like not practicing this week. He's dealing with something right now. And this is a run defense that can be exposed for New England. So Chestnut plus 350, anytime touchdown, Tennessee. Second game, Cincinnati, Las Vegas. Get it queued up. And I'm going to get a quick price here. We are going Mike Gesicki plus 320, anytime touchdown. You need plus 270 or more to play Mike Gesicki. He's taken the snaps back from Eric All. In games where T. Higgins is not around, Mike Gesicki gets lots of targets. I expect him to get lots of targets, including red zone targets today. The one beautiful thing about when Higgins is out, teams tend to shadow Jamar Chase in the red zone. That opens things up for Gesicki. Those are two that I like so far. Chestnut, Gesicki. Third one is more of a dart. I actually can't give this one out. He's just been taken off the board. Let's pivot to my other third one. This one is even more of a dart. Even more of a dart. Goes contrary to one of the bets that I like today, but I'm going to take it anyways. Seattle and the LA Rams. Anyone who's watched a watch along of the Seahawks before might know where I'm going with this one. But tight end one is out for Seattle. Noah Fant. I'm not going tight end 2 in AJ Barner because I don't think his price is good enough. I'm going tight end 3, Pharaoh Brown at 10-1. Pharaoh Brown and AJ Barner were pretty much on the field for the same amount of snaps last week. You need to get plus 800 or better on Pharaoh Brown here. But he was getting red zone snaps. Barner got the red zone target, but Brown is getting red zone snaps. I think it's good enough to play at 10-1. So those are the three for today. Julius Chestnut, Mike Gesicki, Pharaoh Brown. For full disclosure, the other player I was going to give out that has been bet down a bit and taken off the board in a lot of spots would have been DJ Chark for the LA Chargers. You need plus 490 or better if that reopens. DJ Chark plus 490 or better. That is a pure gut instinct play. I have no idea how the Chargers wide receiver rotation is going to play out today. And this one's very, very hard to price. Oh, inactive. That's why. My bad. Complete. Now that makes sense why he's off the board. Perfect. Thank you, Barry Horse. Really appreciate that. Because they activated him off IR and he didn't play. Okay, actually, let me look at that entire situation now really quickly. Because Chark inactive, Quentin Johnston gets most of the snaps. I just want to quickly take a look at Joshua Palmer. If Palmer was getting like 5-1, I would take a flyer on Palmer right now. Okay, not. Plus 410. Okay, nothing else to do. That's it. We're going with those three. Chestnut, Gesicki, Brown. And that makes a lot of sense why I was looking for Chark and couldn't find him anywhere anymore. That's going to be it for me. We've hit 1 hour. Appreciate all of you who tuned in as normal. Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, join me, live watch along of Sunday Night Football, Vikings and Colts. But more importantly, in the first half of this game tonight, we will look ahead to Week 10 in the NFL and give our early opinions on Week 10 in the NFL. I'm not going to be the guy that, I am going to be that guy because you know what? I'm promoting a damn show. If you tuned in last week, you would have got Eagles -6.5. You would have got Browns Chargers over 39.5. You would have got Ravens Broncos over 43.5. We talked ad nauseum about those picks. They haven't won yet, but they're great numbers. And guess what? If you wanted to, you could buy back against them right now and set up some pretty big middles. So tune in tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm drunk. Daylight savings messed me up. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's going to be it for me. I wish you the best of luck in your NFL betting today. Unless you're opposite me, I can't wish you luck. I'm just going to be fully transparent. I hope you lose the bets that you're opposite me on, but I hope you win the rest. For myself, Rob Pizzola, for my producer behind the scenes, Jason Cooper, this has been the Pizza Buffet Week 9 in the NFL here on Forward Progress, presented by Fanduel. Peace out, everyone. Enjoy the NFL today.